Located in the north of Beleriand, within the encircling mountains, raised in secret by the great King Tuor while his people dwelt in the realm of Neverest, a city that was guarded from trespassers by the great eagle Thorondor, known by many names as the Hidden Realm, the White City, or even the Hidden City. What's up, everybody? Today we're back on the Petty Lords, and today we are going to tackle the legendary location of the First Age city, Gondolin. If you're liking what you see and hear on the channel, or simply just interested in any kind of art or lore, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel, as we will be covering many more locations, characters, and events in the wonderful world of Arda. In the year 53 of the First Age, the elf Tuor makes the journey from his great halls in Neverest with his cousin Finrod Felagund, Galadriel's brother. The Vala Ulmo guided them to the hidden valley of Tuor in the north section of Beleriand. Within this hidden valley had originally been a lake, and in its center stood a tall hill that had once been an island named Amen Gwareth. It was here that Tuor decided to found his hidden city as a memorial to the ancient city Tirion in Aman across the Great Sea. Building his city here would make it incredibly hard to assail due to the encircling mountain range and only a single entrance. That, of course, would be well guarded by multiple gates, which we will come to shortly. Also, with the great eagle Thorondor patrolling the skies above with his fellow winged brethren, makes this valley even more ideal for his great city. With the surveying now done and set, the building of the great hidden city could now begin. And remember, folks, after this city was constructed, the great Lord Morgoth would not rest until he discovered the location and razed it to the ground. The first building of the city took 52 years to build, and the city was completed around 116 of the First Age. After this time, the people of Tuor, a big number of Noldor and Sindar, traveled from Neverest, where they had dwelt, and secretly entered the valley of Tuor. Tuor at first names his new city Ondalinde, Quenya, for the rock of the music of water, because of the fountains located on Amen Gwareth. But in Sindarin, it was also known as Gondolin, the Hidden Rock. After more arrived to the city, the elves who come to be known as the Gondoladrim, and they continued the labors and works of the city. So great was the city after its construction that many said that it did in fact rival the beauty of Tirion itself. Its walls were extremely tall and pearl white above the plains, and the greatest feature of this city was its great Tower of the King, where among the great fountains lay two trees made by King Tuor himself, and which he named Glingo and Bethel, made in memory of the original two trees in Valinor that gave the world light, made by Yavanna herself. Another great task of the king was to fortify the single entrance into the valley. He does this with a system of gates, 7 in fact, to help ensure the security of his hidden realm. We will start with the furthest and work our way inwards towards the city itself. The Gate of Wood, the Gate of Stone, the Gate of Bronze, the Gate of Writhen Iron, the Gate of Silver, the Gate of Gold, and finally the Gate of Steel. Each of these gates had their own form and special guards set upon it, as well as a commander to yet again help ensure safety and peace for the city. After the construction of the gates and the completion of the city, King Tuorgon instates his final rule and law amongst its people, that once you enter the great city, you must abide in the great city until death take you. Now that the city is built and fortified, now came the council to decide the governance and the military might for the city. Known as the 12 Houses of Gondolin, the 12 houses were made up of the kindreds of Gondolin according to the earliest version of the legendarium. In the Book of Lost Tales, the houses are made and are listed here with no particular order. The House of the King, led by Tuorgon himself. The House of the Wing, led by Tuor, son of Huor and cousin of Turin Turambar. The House of the Mole, the House of the Swallow, the House of the Heavenly Arch, the House of the Pillar, the House of the Tower of Snow, the House of the Tree, the House of the Golden Flower, led by Glorfindel himself, the House of the Fountain, the House of the Harp, and finally, the House of the Hammer of Wrath. The city was left at peace and thrived under King Tuorgon's rule for many hundreds of years. The king never broke his law until the great battle known as the Nirnaeth Arnoediad in 471 of the First Age. Sometime in these years, the king and his warriors were able to return in secret to the great city with the aid of Hurin Thalion, father of Turin Turambar, as he and his brother Huor held a line of defense themselves against the armies of Morgoth as Tuorgon retreated. Huor is eventually shot down by an orc archer, taking a bolt to the eye, while his brother Hurin picked up his great axe and slew over 70 orcs and trolls before being buried underneath their bodies and captured. Even after his capture and imprisonment by the Dark Lord Morgoth, he never reveals the location of the hidden city and never betrayed King Tuorgon. Shortly after this, Tuorgon's sister, Adriel, wishes to leave the great city and explore Middle-earth. Although he wished against this, she did so anyways. Soon after her departure, her escort returns and tells a tale of losing the king's sister in the dark and desolate region in the southeast, known as Nan Dungorthad. After 20 years have passed, after the incident in Nan Dungortham, Adriel returns. With her was one who she claimed to be Maeglin, her son by Eol, the dark elf of Nan Elmoth. Thus, Maeglin accepts Tuorgon as his lord and attempts to start a life in the hidden city, but his father, Eol, had followed his son and his mother to the city and was brought to the king after his capture at the gates. Eol refuses to submit to Tuorgon and instead chooses death for himself and his family. He throws a poisoned dart at his son, but his mother, the king's sister, Adriel, jumps in front of the dart and is hit. She falls ill from the poison and dies. For this offense, Tuorgon takes Eol to the top of Gondolin's great wall and casts him from the brink. After this event, the king determines that Maeglin had no part in these deeds and allows him to stay in the city, and he grew to be among the great in Gondolin, wise in counsel, stunning in smithcraft, and a mighty warrior on the battlefield. But the mercy shown on Maeglin would bring about the destruction and downfall of this great city. When the siege of Angband is broken, King Tuorgon in secret starts to send his people westward across the great sea to seek the land of the Valar and ask for their pardon and aid, but none of his people were successful in this endeavor. Although the king's grandson, Eärendil, aided by one of the great Cimmeril, would succeed in the task many years later, shortly after the arrival of Huor's son Tuor to the city, he delivers a message to Tuorgon from the Valar Umul, stating to close his city, for his power is leaving the rivers leading to the city, and could no longer aid in the city's protection. After a few years of living in the city, Tuor not only becomes a leader of one of the 12 houses, but he also marries Turgon's daughter, Idril, becoming only the second pairing of elf and man that come to pass, after the succeeding of Beren and Luthien. Shortly after their marriage, Tuor and Idril have a son who is named Eärendil, meaning sea friend, and in this child great deeds would come. In the year 500 of the First Age, Morgoth releases Tuor's uncle Hurin, father of Turin, from captivity, and in his wanderings in Beleriand, after his release, he would inadvertently give Morgoth a general location of the Hidden City. After Tuor's marriage and birth of his son, a discontent grew in the heart of the elf Maeglin, not for the attention or fame of Tuor, but rather for his marriage to Idril, being jealous of the union between the two and wanting her for himself. In his travels, shortly after this discontent grew in his heart, Maeglin wanders outside the city against the wishes of the king and is captured by a group of orcs. The orcs take Maeglin to Morgoth himself, and Morgoth attempts to broker a deal with the elf. In exchange for the exact location of Gondolin, Morgoth promises Maeglin kingship of Gondolin and the hand of Idril. In one of the biggest betrayals in the history of Arda, at least in our opinion, Maeglin accepts these terms and gives up the location of the city. Maeglin then returns to the city, acting if nothing is a matter, and carries on with his affairs within the city. Many people believe that after his return that Maeglin had changed for the better, but little did they know the ruin that was about to be brought upon them from the elf's treachery. Idril, not believing that Maeglin had changed for the better, suspected that Maeglin was up to something, and she begins a secret project, an escape route from Gondolin, just in case the worst should come to be. One day, in the year 510 of the First Age, the Gondolin were at the gates of the city getting ready for the celebration of the Festival of the Gates of Summer, when a great force is spotted in the north and attacks. A massive force of orcs, dragons, and Balrogs have come for the city for a single purpose: its destruction. Shortly after the attack begins, Maeglin shows his true colors and attacks Tuor and Idril, and even attempts to kill their son Eärendil. Tuor chases down the elf into the battle atop the great walls of the city. Tuor is victorious and kills Maeglin, then casts him from the brink of the walls, and the elf strikes the mountainside 3 times in his descent to the fires below. As the battle continues, King Turgon gives his life in defense of his city, and the Lord of the Fountain, Ecthelion, dies in single combat against the Lord of the Balrogs, Gothmog, after Ecthelion drives the spike of his helm into the demon's stomach, and they both fall into the great fountain and drown. As the city and its king falls, Tuor and Idril lead the survivors out of the secret passage created by Idril. But as they near the exit of the passage, a group of orcs and a single Balrog ambush the group. They are saved from the orcs by the great eagles of the land, and the elf lord Glorfindel takes on the Balrog. In this fight, both Glorfindel and the Balrog perish as they fall from the mountainside, still in combat. His sacrifice allowing the people to safely escape. After these events, Tuor and Idril lead the survivors down the Vale of Sirion that is protected by the Vala Ulmo himself, and they head to the havens of Sirion, the very last refuge for the elves of Beleriand. So what do you think of the tale of the rise and fall of Gondolin? We hope you have enjoyed the videos and the content on the channel so far, and we are very excited to bring you more from the world of Arda. Is there a location that you guys would like to see covered in the channel? If so, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you wish to hear and see more of this wonderful world of Tolkien. We would like to thank each and every one of you who have supported and enjoy our content so far, and we hope to continue and bring you more. We hope you all have a happy and safe holiday. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and remember folks, we are not runic emperors, just a petty lords.